Later on in this episode, we will be previewing the NFC West, the best division in football.
I don't know why anybody thought he was good at any point. During that rookie year when he played that 5-game stretch, people were like, oh, he's got some real potential. I'm like, no, he's done nothing special. He doesn't look any good at all. He's like 3 of those games were under 200 passing yards.
As far as the Stafford thing goes, I don't know if it's truly an upgrade from Goff or not.
And this is the best division in football by far, in my mind, at least. You guys can let me know if I'm wrong, but I think you could realistically have 4 playoff teams here. Hey everyone, welcome to the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and join me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty swell. Looking forward to talking this episode. Since we did our last episode about the NFC and AFC North, we had some breaking news out of the NFC North, which we'll talk about, of course. So, that changes kind of the landscapes of the NFL this season a little bit. So I got to go back and make some changes. But it didn't really impact anything in today's episode, so that's good.
Absolutely. And also joining us today, we've got Derek Rivard, my cousin, a huge Broncos fan. I'm happy to have him on. And Chase, you have a little beef with him, so we'll let that get settled out a little bit later on. But Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. Super pumped. I'm definitely pumped to start talking some football. I'm looking forward to that Aaron Rodgers conversation because it kind of took a little air out of my Denver Bronco balloon, but we'll get to that in a few.
Absolutely. And I'm pumped. Training camp has started today for every single team. So football is back just a couple of weeks here, and we should be seeing some preseason action. So I'm absolutely stoked for that. But we have some news, like you guys talked about. Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay. Last episode, we talked about how Aaron Rodgers declined a deal which would make him the highest paid quarterback in all of the NFL. So Chase, you, Graham, and I, we're like, all right, that's it. Aaron Rodgers, he's done. He's not coming to Green Bay. What's going to happen? Well, Green Bay's not going to look very good. We made our predictions. I think we all had them around the 6 to 8 win mark. Well, 4 days later, Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay. He's ready to play. He's got this weird new contract that's coming up where he's going to be able to determine wherever he wants to play next year, which is wild. I don't know why management would do that. Give him the option to, hey, if you want to leave here, no big deal. You better think that you're going to win the Super Bowl if you're going to give him that type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like last year, he won the MVP, so he's coming off of that tremendous season that he had, and he can bounce back and have that type of year again. The team is pretty similar to what they were. They just went and trade off for Randall Cobb too, who Aaron Rodgers specifically wanted. So get ready for Randall Cobb, to get 120 targets. He's going to be peppering the ball to him and Devonta Adams. Aaron Rodgers is a little happier than he was probably even going into last season now at this point with them, finally taking those right steps. And if he didn't make those concessions, he's just not going to report to camp. He'll just sit out for the year. Maybe he retires and you get nothing out of him. Whereas this, now you still have a chance to maybe go win another Super Bowl. This team's good enough to be able to do it as long as everything hits right. So it sucks. It's a horrible situation for management, but you got to do what you got to do.
Huge for Green Bay to get him back, obviously, because who knows what Jordan Love's going to be when he finally gets the call. But from the Broncos' perspective, it was very disappointing. When they passed on Fields in the draft, which now I'm really disgusted with, but when they passed on him in the draft, I had a feeling that there might be some framework for the Rodgers contract to get done. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So good for Green Bay and bad for Denver.
It sounded like on draft night, when they took Surtain, we heard rumors that the Broncos have been in touch. It sounded like this is going to be a slam dunk for Denver. They're getting Aaron Rodgers for sure. I thought Patrick Surtain was going to be one of the big pieces going back because Green Bay, they wanted a corner. They went after Eric Stokes, which not a big fan of that pick, but I thought it was going to happen. It didn't. However, something that still could happen, maybe Denver goes after Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, he's got some stuff off the field that we're not going to talk about. We're going to let the legal counsel do all of that talking, but on the field, he's back. He's in training camp. He's not letting his bonus money go to waste. He's making sure that every single dollar he signed up for, he's going to be taking. Sounded like there could have been a trade that went through this past Sunday, but that fell through. His agent sounded pretty confident that he'd be gone by Sunday. It wasn't the case, but it could be a match for Denver. Derek, I'll talk to you first. Would that be something you're interested in?
I would be, for sure. Just think the executives would have to get the legal side of it straightened out as far as if he's going to be suspended or if these charges are going to go through the courts or what the deal is. But if everything was cool on that side, then absolutely, I would be willing to give up. I'd mortgage the farm to get him in the locker room, because I think they're relatively close to, dare I say, a possible Super Bowl run with a real quarterback. Definitely a playoff team, but if they were to get a quarterback like him in there, they have enough weapons. I think they're close enough where I'd be definitely willing to give it up for him, for sure.
And you need to find that quarterback. Ever since Peyton Manning left, you guys haven't been able to do that. But Chase, your thoughts on the Deshaun Watson situation and possible locations you could see him landing?
Well, let's put it this way. I think the Broncos is a good fit, so much to the point where I put money on the Broncos early in this offseason to win the Super Bowl, just in case they trade for a quarterback. Because if they traded for Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers, I think they're automatically one of those like top 5 teams, because they have everything else. But right now, and we're going to talk about them more later on too, but right now their quarterback situation is atrocious. Where else Deshaun Watson might go, I heard the Eagles. I could see that being a fit, but at the same time, they seem pretty, set on riding with Jalen Hurts and letting him try to develop. So I don't know what would happen there. I would have to assume Hurts would go the other way, and then he'd be in Houston too. But other than that, I don't know any other really real team that something might happen. I more lean towards the side that he's going to be with Houston the rest of the year. I don't think he's going to be able to be traded. They want a lot in return. He's going to get suspended more likely than not. So I just lean that he's going to end up being in Houston all year anyway.
Now, here's the question. If he is in Houston the whole year, does he play? Because it seems like Houston, they've been ready to move on. They haven't thought he was going to be their starting quarterback for a couple months now. They drafted their quarterback with their first pick in this past draft. It seems like they were fully prepared not to have him as their starting quarterback. If he happens to stay, is it one of those things where relationships just broken off to the point where, nah, you're not going to be my starter, but you'll still be in the room?
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you have Deshaun Watson, you have to play him, and I think the Texans would realize that too. If he's there on the roster week 1, not suspended, ready to play, he will be the starting quarterback, because like they can win a few games with him as their quarterback, regardless who's throwing the ball to, regardless who's playing defense. They're going to win a few games because Deshaun Watson's just that type of player. So you can't just have a guy like that sitting on your bench. It's going to ultimately lose value. You're not going to be able to trade him for as much as you could before, and it's just going to hurt him at the end of the day too, because he's not sitting out there playing, getting regular reps.
All right. Sounds good. Well, let's move on into the division breakdowns. We're going to start with the AFC and NFC, or we're going to start with the AFC West, I should say, because that's not the best division in football. However, later on in this episode, we will be previewing the NFC West, the best division in football. AFC West going to be fun because, as we mentioned, Derek, a big fan of the Broncos. We've got some other family members, big fans of the Raiders. So I know that Sean and Landon, when I told them you were going to be on, they said they can't wait for this because they're ready to hear the Raiders at 4-12 and the Broncos winning the Super Bowl.
Well, I got some choice words for the Raiders, but I don't have the Broncos winning the Super Bowl. Spoiler alert.
All right. Sounds good. Before we hop into that, actually, Chase, did you want to settle your beef?
Yeah. So I believe I'm owed $10. This is how many years ago is this now? 4 or 5. I think at this point, interest, I'm owed like $100. So this bet goes back to about between us, the Broncos and the Lions having a better record, whatever year it was, I can't remember. But the Lions had the better record, and I've just been waiting for my money, and I will get my money. Just keep that in mind.
Well, it's funny. I remembered the making the bet. I remember losing the bet, but I didn't remember what the bet was. So,
well, there you go.
So I'll take your word for it. But I would be interested in going double or nothing if you have an interest in that. But
come on, you're confident in your Lions. You gave them 6-11 last year.
You know what?
Or this year.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, let's do it. Double or nothing. I'm in.
All right.
I don't think this one's gonna work out too well for you, Chase, but we'll have to see. Also, the reason we had you on the show, Derek, is not only to settle that beef, but also because now we expect some apple pie. So the next time you get around us, we need that apple pie moonshine. So, hey, done. I've got the grad parties coming up August 14th. The invite's in the mail for you. So it's on its way. You, Ryan, Haley, all invited. So
awesome.
It's going to be a fun time, but
I'll bring the pie.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's hop into the AFC West now. We'll start off with our first team in the division. I feel like this is pretty obvious, but in case there's a shocker, I'll let Derek go first. Who do you got first in your division?
I have got, believe it or not, the Kansas City Chiefs going 14-3, 5-1 in the division. I mean, their schedule is relatively favorable from what I see. And, most of all of their main pieces are pretty much back on offense, with Kelsey and Tyreek and obviously Patrick Mahomes and Edwards-Helaire back there. They just have one heck of a team, and the defense is decent enough to navigate through the schedule. And yeah, I got them going 14-3, first place, and most likely Super Bowl bound.
Absolutely. Chase, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs?
I also have the Chiefs at 13-4, or not also, but I have also the Chiefs first at 13-4, is what I meant to say. Really, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Travis Kelsey, it's Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire looking to bounce back in a big way. He had a lot of high expectations on him last year. Still played well for a rookie running back, but based on what people were putting on him, he kind of underperformed. I fully expect him to have a really nice year this year. The offensive line is significantly improved from what it was last season, and they got to the Super Bowl even with the kind of shambles offensive line they had. So, really, that just bodes well in the long run. They're probably, one of the best, if not the best teams in football. Very hard to beat. Anytime you have Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball against you, you're kind of panicking. Doesn't matter who you have defending on the field. He's going to be able to stretch it out. So it's going to be, it's going to be pretty hard for me to not have them go into my Super Bowl. I know I have them at least making it to the AFC Championship. I'm kind of between two teams at that point, the Bills and the Chiefs, and I kind of lean the Bills a little bit, but at the end of the day, I would not be surprised at all if it's the Chiefs.
And I've got the Chiefs 14-3, top of the division as well. It's the Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes. You guys said basically all that needs to be said. And I agree, Chase. I think there's really only two teams that sit at the top of the AFC right now, and that is the Bills and the Chiefs. It seems like those two are going to be battling for a Super Bowl spot for many years to come, at least until Joe Burrow takes that next step and the Bengals get there. But the Chiefs definitely the favorite in this division. Let's talk about our second team in the division. Chase, I'll let you go first.
I hope we're all the same here. I got the Chargers at 10-7, also making the playoffs. Justin Herbert played fantastic as a rookie. It's going to be a different offense this year. It's going to be a little, less air raid. They're going to be closer in games, so they're bound to throw the ball less. The defense is going to be a little bit stronger, a little more kind of clock management. But at the end of the day, Herbert showed too much talent where he's still going to be allowed to do the things they did. He's still going to be throwing the ball a lot. They're going to have Austin Eckler back. This offense, I love it up front, and the defense. They've got enough pieces. They got the coaches that you need to really become a very solid team. So 10-7, I think is. I think they could be honestly better than that. I can't really imagine them being worse if everyone stays healthy. But I think 10-7 is kind of about their floor to me.
Derek, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've got the Chargers second as well. I've got them at 11-6. I do have a sweet spot for Herbert. He led me to some fantasy cash last year off the waiver wire, so I got a sweet spot for him. But yeah, it sounds like with the new coaching change, they're leaning towards running the ball a little more. And I like the fact that they went and got Rashawn Slater to bolster that offensive line. I think he's going to step in right away and start playing. And, the defense boasts as an animal. So, yeah, I like him at second place, 11-6, and getting to the playoffs.
Yeah, I've got him 11-6 as well. Also making the playoffs. They're actually the last wild card. And, hey, Justin Herbert in fantasy, you got to love it. Even better, Justin Herbert in Dynasty. Yes, that's me.
There you go.
I traded Chase, what did I trade? It was DeMarcus Robinson for a third round pick, which ended up as Justin Herbert. Very happy about that. And hey, if the run game gets bolstered a little bit with the Chargers, or at least the coach wants to run it some more, Austin Eckler going to have to be looked at as a first round, second round running back because he could really do some damage. Very excited for the team. I think that if that defense stays healthy, that defense could be like top 10 in the league too. They still have so many players, but for some reason it's injuries or it's just a connection because they just can't put it all together at the same time. But I think if they stay healthy, that could be a scary defense as well.
100%.
Definitely.
All right, moving on to our third place teams. This is where it gets a little shaky. I want to start with Chase because I have a feeling who he's going to have third, and I know Derek's not going to like it, and that's going to make this so much fun.
Yeah, that is the Raiders, third in the division at 6-11. So the bottom half of this division is going to be a bit of a struggle, in my opinion. I like the Raiders. I thought they were a team last year that, you and I, Mike, both, we talked about during the season. We kind of like them as, this team that is not really getting enough credit. They have, sleeper potential to maybe make the playoffs. Kind of started to fall apart at the end. And I really just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I still like Derek Carr as a quarterback. I think their running back room, with Kenny Drake, it's going to be cancer for fantasy, but it's going to work out better for them offensively. But I don't know. I feel like last year was this roster's ceiling. I don't think you're really going to get much better until Derek Carr changes or until John Gruden's out of there. So, 6-11 is about kind of where I have them. Maybe they can pull out another win or two, but I can't really see them doing much more than that.
Okay. And Derek, here's what I want to know. Give me the Raiders record and then tell me why they are not the third place team in the division.
I've got the Raiders at 4-13. Complete dumpster fire. And let me start with this. Looking at their schedule, they open up with Baltimore, at Pittsburgh, Miami at home, and at the Chargers. I don't see them winning a ball game in there. So they're already out of the gate 0-4. Then they got the Bears. Then they go to Denver. That's a loss. So I got them at 1-5, coming right out of the gate. But, I don't know how much longer they're going to have the Gruden-Mayock experiment. I think the clock should be running on that. If you're a Raider fan, I love it personally. But if you're a Raider fan, I think the clock should be running on that. But yeah, I've got them 4-13 and last in the division.
I think it really hurts when they're taking players like Alex Leatherwood, who is a second round, maybe even in some people's mind, third round offensive tackle, taking him in the first round. That's tough. They always go off the board when they're picking in the first round. I also have the Raiders fourth in the division, and we'll get to Derek and my third place in the division after this, but I've got the Vegas Raiders at 6-11. I don't hate them. I think that the Raiders and the Broncos could both reach that 8-9 win mark. It's just, when I went down to it, I looked at every single game in their schedule. It came out to 6-11. It's a good team. I like Derek Carr, but some teams need to lose, and the Raiders were just that team for me. So we'll talk about the Broncos now. Chase, we'll go with you. Why do you dislike the Broncos? And then we can get Derek's thoughts.
So first, start off, I got them at 5-12 last in the division. My biggest fear is they're going to rely on Drew Lock too much this year. Drew Lock is an absolutely horrendous NFL quarterback. He should not start any games ever again in his NFL career because he's just not good. We've clearly seen that. I don't know why anybody thought he was good at any point. During that rookie year when he played that 5-game stretch, people are like, oh, he's got some real potential. I'm like, no, he's done nothing special. He doesn't look any good at all. He's like 3 of those games were under 200 passing yards. And last year we saw he has really no sense on the field. He's not very accurate. He just doesn't do anything spectacular. And I really fear they're going to lean on him too much, having the draft capital spent in him. If they go Teddy Bridgewater for a bigger chunk of the year, I could see him maybe pulling out another win or two. But more than 6 or 7 wins, that there's just no chance because the quarterback position is just so lowly rated.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've got Denver going 7-10. I think the difference is the 2 extra wins are going to come from Teddy B. I think he's going to be the starter out of the gate, or at least I hope he is. He's more of a game manager. I'm hoping they're going to play. Their defense is very solid. I'm hoping they're going to play defense, run the ball a little more with Gordon and Williams. Nice little 1-2 punch there, or vice versa. Who knows? And as long as Teddy doesn't turn it over, Drew just had too many turnovers last year. And as long as he doesn't turn it over, I think the defense can keep him in some games. And I think they can get to 7 wins. I'm not thrilled with it, but I think they can get to 7.
Yeah, and I had them at 7 and 10 as well. I think it's very possible. And like I was saying with the Raiders, they could get to that 8 or 9 game threshold if that defense really steps up. I think you got a top 10 defense here. When it comes to offensive weapons, I think your top half of the league, it just comes down to quarterback. And we talked about that to a big extent with Chase and Derek. So let's talk about the weapons a little bit more. What do they need to do to get to that next level? I think Cortland Sutton, he is right on that fringe mark of being elite, at least in my mind. Some people might think he's elite already. I'm not there yet. I think just another year of really good production. That's going to be great for him. Jerry Jeudy, highly touted. I've got him on my dynasty team. I was not too thrilled when he was dropping all those passes last year. I do think he improves. And if he can, get to the point where everyone thought he would be out of the draft, then you could have a really good wide receiver one combo, because both of those guys can be that good. Javonte Williams, also have him in dynasty. Are we seeing a trend here, guys?
Yeah.
So I'm excited for him. I just really don't know what's happening, because Melvin Gordon, there's some talk about what's going to happen with him. I mean, is he suspended or what's happening? Because he got pulled over, arrested or whatever. So there's some question marks around him. And I even saw some stuff that Javonte Williams might be the running back 1 right out of the gate.
You can take it, Derek. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been hearing the same thing. And the Melvin Gordon thing, he's next spring, he turns 29. He's getting close to that 30 age. And now with this legal thing, I haven't heard too much on the legal issues as far as what's going to happen with him, if he's going to get suspended. But even if he doesn't, it sounds like Javonte Williams is at least going to split carries, if not take the lead role. And going back to Cortland Sutton, I got him as a bonus comeback player of the year, the AFC West. And so hopefully he'll have Teddy throwing in the ball, and even Noah Fant, hell of a tight end. And like you said with Jeudy, they got some weapons there. Just need someone to give him the ball. Hopefully Teddy can at least get it to him half the time.
I love the offensive weapons that the Broncos have, but the problem is you got Drew Lock, you got Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy's receiver is Jerry Jeudy, just based on, the type of guy he's thrown to in his career. Drew Lock's type of receiver is Cortland Sutton. So only one of those guys are going to end up being relevant, in terms of fantasy and just producing in NFL terms. One of them's going to disappoint yet again. I know Sutton was a little different because of injury, but still one of those guys is going to disappoint yet again. If they get an upgraded quarterback, I mean, it's just too potent of an offense. I mean, you got those 2 tremendous receiving weapons. Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler are receivers I really like as well. I think Noah Fant, he's a great, split out tight end. Javonte Williams, I think he just flat out should be the running back. I think he's significantly better than Melvin Gordon already. I think Melvin Gordon's tires were already coming off the track a couple of years ago. And it just, now that you got this guy that you traded up for, you might as well use him, especially at the running back position, since it's, it's such a short shelf life in the NFL. So if they end up, I know this year they're not going to be getting a quarterback more likely than not, but next season, if they can get the upgrade at the quarterback position, just watch out, because it's going to be a dominant team.
Now, Chase, let me ask you, Mr. Fantasy Expert, if you had to take one of those 2 wide receivers in fantasy, you think that only one's going to be fantasy relevant. Currently, Cortland Sutton going as the wide receiver 31, Jerry Jeudy going as the wide receiver 33. Who you taking?
They're so close to each other. Oh, Lord. I guess I'm going to lean Jerry Jeudy. Even though I think Drew Lock will end up starting more games than Teddy Bridgewater, just kind of the feeling I have. If Teddy Bridgewater were to come in, I mean, he's going to be more efficient of a passer than Drew Lock is, I think, at least to his favorite target. So I would rather kind of take the bet on Jerry Jeudy than Cortland Sutton.
All right. How about you, Derek? I know you play some fantasy.
Oh yeah. I'm more on the Cortland Sutton train. I'd like to see how he looks in preseason, just to make sure the injury's all good, but he had plenty of time off, so I think he'll be okay. I would lean towards Cortland Sutton at this point.
I feel like both could be a steal at 31 and 33 as wide receivers. I think both could easily end up in the top 20. So I'd definitely be looking at both of them. Right now, I'm hoping for the Jerry Jeudy success, just because that means my dynasty team would be better. But let's move on to rookie of the division talk. The AFC West has a couple of more rookies that could battle for this, unlike the NFC West. So let's start with you, Derek. Who do you have taking rookie of this division?
Thank you. Homer pick, Javonte Williams. Sounds like they're even going to start getting him the ball in the passing game. In his 3 years he played at Carolina, each year his receptions moved up. He didn't have a ton. I think he had like 25. Yeah, 25 in his third season there, but he went from 8 to 17 to 25. So they started getting him the ball more in the passing game. Plus, he's got a nose for the end zone. I mean, he had 22 touchdowns in his senior year, 19 on the ground. So he's set up for rookie of the year, at least for this division. So that's who I'm going to go with.
Chase?
Yeah, I like that pick. I'm going to go with Patrick Surtain, though. I think, he is the most ready NFL cornerback from that draft class, but I still think it was the absolute wrong pick. If you take Justin Fields at that spot, I probably would have given the Broncos at least 3 more wins, at least, if not made them a playoff team. I think they probably would have been the best team with a rookie quarterback in the NFL. So it's very much a shame that didn't happen, but still Patrick Surtain, I think he'll be able to come in, even though their defensive backs they really kind of beefed them up this offseason too. I still think he's going to prove to be one of the, the better guys and get on the field pretty much every down and just prove to be one of the most consistent rookies, if not cornerbacks in general in the league.
I want to talk about that a little bit. Obviously had the chance at Justin Fields, went Patrick Surtain instead. Derek wasn't too happy, or at least that's what it seemed like earlier on in the episode when he said no longer being able to get Aaron Rodgers makes that pick look so much worse. Talk about your frustrations with that a little bit, Derek, but then also on the back end of that, tell me what you think about Patrick Surtain. Are you excited to see him in the orange and blue?
Yeah, I remember it vividly, sitting there with my uncle watching the draft, and it was about the fifth pick, I think, and Fields was still on the board. And then I get a tweet saying that Mark Schlereth saying that the Aaron Rodgers deal is close to being done in Denver, and I'm pumped. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So then as the draft pick is getting closer, Fields is falling. He's falling. Now he's there, and they don't take him. I wasn't. I mean, I like Surtain as a corner, but I don't like the pick at that spot. So, like I said, I thought for sure that means they have a deal. And like you mentioned earlier, I thought Surtain would be a trade piece because Green Bay needed secondary help. So that was extremely frustrating. Now that I know we're not getting Rodgers, and it doesn't sound, we probably not going to get Watson as well. But as far as the other part, yeah, I don't know if he's going to come in and start right away. They got their secondary is pretty well set, but he can definitely come in and make a difference. And barring any injuries, hopefully there's no injuries, but he'll definitely make a difference. I'm sure he'll be in some nickel and dime situations and that. But like I said, I like the pick, but I wanted Fields.
Right. All right. So those were 2 of my 3 choices. So I'll just go with my third choice, and that is Asante Samuel out of the LA Chargers. I think he is going to be a good rotational secondary piece for the Chargers. And hey, he could even be a starter when it comes to the end of the season. The amount of injuries and just rotation that they have in that secondary for the Los Angeles Chargers makes me think Asante Samuel could have a big role. And this is a guy that we talked about a lot leading up to the draft that just kind of reminds me of a bulldog. He's not too big, but he's very feisty. He's going to get in your face, really good man coverage. So excited to see him and what he can do on the field. That'll be my rookie of the division pick.
Yeah, I mean, all 3 names that were cited were the only 3 names I was even considering. So, fair. Yeah, and Mike, I also love Asante Samuel. I think he does have legitimate impact as a rookie. Not a lot of corners do, but I think he's in a situation, and the type of player that he is, he's just going to fight too hard to not. Like, he's going to fight too hard. He just has to be given that opportunity, and he's going to succeed with it.
And how about that? Being able to get him in the second round, also being able to upgrade the offensive line with Rashawn Slater, a very nice draft for the LA Chargers. But now we move into the MVP of this division. I think there's really 2 names to look at. Maybe there's a couple others that I overlooked, but the 2 names I'm thinking about, they could even be the MVP of the whole league. Chase, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the really, really, really obvious one, Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's he's due for an uptick in production a little bit. I think because if I'm not mistaken, his touchdown percentage was down a bit last year, and with quarterbacks, it's a pretty like every other year type of thing. So he's due for an uptick. I think he's just going to flourish in this offense this year. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and he's got to be a favorite for MVP every single year until he retires, really.
Yeah, I didn't want to just mail it in and go Mahomes like Chase did, so I kind of expanded my options.
Get out of here.
I ended up going with CEH with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He came out like a ball of fire last season, right out of the gate, and then got dinged up a little bit, and seemed like he was kind of dinged up all year. Maybe hit the rookie wall later in the season, but if he can stay healthy and have a full season in that offense, he catches the ball, he runs the ball, he can score touchdowns, he can just do it all. And I got him as my my MVP for this division.
That's an interesting pick. I did not see that one coming, but I don't mind it. I'll go Justin Herbert because the kid lit the league on fire last year in his first year. I think he is going to have a little bit of a step back, to be honest, but he's got the weapons around him. The offensive line is much improved. So if there is someone that could do it, I got to think it's Justin Herbert. So he will be my MVP of the division. I think pretty good picks all around. One of us went the cheap route out, but understandable when it is understandable when it is a league MVP and a Super Bowl MVP in Patrick Mahomes. But that's going to do it for the AFC West. Let's move on to the NFC West now. It's going to work the exact same way. We're going to start off with our number one team in the division. And this is the best division in football by far, in my mind, at least. You guys can let me know if I'm wrong, but I think you could realistically have 4 playoff teams here. You could have all 3 NFC wildcards come from this division realistically. I'm excited to watch this division. The in-division competition, you got your Seahawks-Rams game. That's going to be awesome. San Francisco Rams, going to have a lot of fun in this division, but we have to pick a winner. So, Chase, who leads your NFC West?
Yeah, just kind of riding off that real quick. 100%. All 4 of these teams could make playoffs. It's very, very, very unlikely, though. Just, with the way it works out, like going against your division, one of these teams is bound to have a negative division record, and that just kind of hurts you in the long run. So, regardless, first place in the division, I do have the LA Rams going 14-3. I think Matthew Stafford has an MVP level season. Maybe not necessarily win the MVP, but I don't think there's going to be too much of an adjustment period. I think the Sean McVay offense is going to be perfect for what he wants to do. The team is, they're bound to just take a step forward, maybe even like 40 steps forward, honestly, from where they were last year. It's going to be a very, very fun team to watch. I'm rooting for Stafford hard, and I want him to have a lot of success. It sucked that he was just wasted here in Detroit. And, he's a guy that, I maybe like more than the Detroit Lions just in general right now. So I'll be heavily rooting for him. And 14-3, I mean, really with that roster, I don't think it's too far-fetched.
Derek, where do you rank the Rams? Is it first, or do you think there's a little Matthew Stafford bias coming from Chase?
I just say I have them ranked second in the division. I've got them at 11-6, second place in the division. As far as the Stafford thing goes, I don't know if it's truly an upgrade from Goff or not. And I know Stafford played in the Lions. I understand that. But as far as, he had that stigma of whenever he played a team over 500, he had a terrible record against teams over 500. And again, I understand the Lions have a lot to do with it. He's got a lot of weapons here. So this year will tell me exactly what Stafford really is with the weapons he has. And it's a shame he lost Akers, but it'll show what he really is. I still tend to lean that he's not a real big game quarterback, and they'll make the playoffs, but I don't see too much more than that.
Chase, give me your thoughts on that.
See, I like the Akers comment real quick. It does suck that he's gone, but I'm still a big believer in Darrell Henderson. I think he is a legitimate, running back who is good enough to be a starter, and he'll get a lot of work, and he'll produce 100%. 11 wins is still a playoff team, and like there's no chance they're not a playoff team. I will safely say that healthy, there's 0 chance they're not a playoff team. I really don't. I would say I feel like more like 11 wins would be their floor. I don't think they could get any less than that. I think the 12 to 14 range is just more realistic. I watched Stafford play. The whole him being bad against teams above 500. Like there's not much you can do when you have like 500-yard rushers in your whole like quarterbacking career for the Lions. And Reggie Bush is one of them. Zach Zenner, he had one of the best rushing games for the Lions with Stafford here. He put up 80 yards. Like, there's not much you can do when the run game is unestablished or the defense is atrocious. Like, he carried a lot of burden. He played fantastic football. And the dude is a warrior. And, like, I don't want to say he knows how to win because obviously, like, the Lions have been horrible with him. But like, the games where they do win, it's pretty much always because of him. So I think that's really going to help the Rams at the end of the day.
And I've got the Rams first in my division as well, sitting at 13-4. And I do think Stafford is a big upgrade to Goff. And that's just because I think Goff is terrible. It's not the fact that I think Matt Stafford is this almighty talent, although I do think he's very good. I just think Goff is terrible. I wouldn't put Goff in my top 20 quarterbacks in the league. I don't know if he'd even sniff my top 25. We'll see. But he's bad. I don't like him at all. And then the Rams, I'm not even that big of a fan of the Rams' weapons. I think Cooper Kupp is solid. I think Robert Woods is solid. But solid is the best I see them as. Matt Stafford should do pretty well. It's really the defense that carries them home. They're a top 3 defense in the league, could easily be the number 1. They've got, in my mind, the best defensive lineman, Aaron Donald, and the best corner in Jalen Ramsey. So the defense is going to do a lot of work. Matt Stafford should be and will be a huge upgrade over Jared Goff.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say that those guys, I mean, at least Aaron Donald is 100% everyone's best defensive lineman. If you think elsewise, I mean, you're just wrong. But just kind of, your argument about the weapons, I think Cooper Kupp is solid. That's fair. But I think Robert Woods is a legitimately very good NFL receiver. It just took him getting to the Rams and getting that correct opportunity for him to succeed. He struggled in Buffalo when he started his career, but, he's found a lot of success with the Rams because they're properly using him. And I think he just is a truly talented dude. And I think he's just bound to perform better than he did last year. Because, last year, the shortest on touchdowns, but this year, Stafford's coming in. I think it's just bound to be a dream connection.
Does that have to do with you, trading for him in fantasy?
I traded him away because I'm rebuilding. So that's just my cold hard true feelings.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. Well, let's move on to Derek's first place team in the NFC West. Who would that be?
Going to be the Niners. I got them going 13-4. That's on the if come that Jimmy Graves stays healthy. I'm assuming he's gonna. They get all their pieces back. We got Debo out there and Kittle and Mostert back. I mean, and the defense is fantastic. They were decimated with injuries last year, so I count last year as kind of a one-off. They were much better than what the record was. So I think they'll have a bounce back year this year. And now, I'm 13-4, first place.
Yeah, I've got them at 10-7, so third place in the division. Still a playoff team, and like it's not that I have them the third place in the division because they're the third best team in the division. It's just this is such a close division. Like really, these top 3 teams are pretty damn close to each other, and even the fourth team is too. So I could easily see them jumping to second, maybe even first. But regardless whether it's Jimmy G or Trey Lance, I don't think this offense misses a beat. I think like Trey Lance is a different type of quarterback, and they're going to designate a couple more runs to him once he can get in there. He'll run the ball 5-6 times a game, something like that. But really, other than that, in terms of the passing plays in the play actions, like him and Jimmy G, they like run a similar type of throwing offense. So there's not going to be too much of a transition. So I don't think it matters who plays. Whichever one is playing better deserves to play, and I think that's what will happen. And I don't think they'll miss a step at all. So 10-7 with that offense, and obviously the tremendous defense they have. And I do love Kyle Shanahan as a coach too.
So 10-7 with Trey Lance coming in. You must not be a big Trey Lance believer.
I am the biggest Trey Lance believer you will ever meet.
Yeah, Chase happens to think that Trey Lance will be the best quarterback out of this draft class. We'll see if that's how that pans out. I would agree. I got the 49ers second at 13-4. I got both teams at 13-4, the Rams and the 49ers. Great team. I agree with Derek wholeheartedly that last year was a one-off. We saw what they did when they were healthy. They made it to the Super Bowl. So I think, again, they're going to be really good. I think Jimmy Garoppolo gets more games than Trey Lance does just because they're going to be winning games right off the bat. So excited to see them back. Really excited to see Nick Bosa back because his rookie year was dominant. Last year he got injured, wasn't able to play. this year, hoping he comes back and shows he is a top 5 pass rusher in the league, because he looked like he was getting there after his rookie season. Going to be exciting to watch that. But Chase, let's talk about your number 2 team now. And that is, I would assume, the Seattle Seahawks.
It is the Seattle Seahawks at 11-6, obviously making the playoffs. So, this whole division it's just so close at the end of the day. Russell Wilson's Russell Wilson. Last year, when they let him cook, he was, flinging the ball, slinging it. He looked impressive. The offense looked like a lot of fun to watch. But then they kind of dialed it back. They want to run the ball. It's what Pete Carroll wants to do. And honestly, they kind of faltered after that. It was a little bit disappointing. I think they're going to throw the ball, more than they did to end the season last year, but also not as much as the beginning of the year. So they're going to find that kind of happy medium, go back to being, a perennial playoff contender like they are with Russell Wilson. I love his receiving options. I think Chris Carson is a very good NFL running back. The defense, I think they got the right pieces in place. I think all in all, it's just a very solid team with an elite quarterback.
Yeah, I got the Seahawks third, 10-7. Just a little nervous about their defense. Obviously, their offense is fantastic, but I'm just a little nervous about the defense. And hopefully they'll let Russell cook a little more. I mean, Chris Carson is a heck of a back. He's another guy that I've had in fantasy in the past, and he tends to get dinged up from time to time as well. But, if he can stay healthy, I got him 10 wins. I think third place. They'll be teetering on a possible playoff berth, if not getting in.
I agree. I've got the Seahawks at 10-7, third place as well. I do have them making the playoffs, which would mean my top 3 teams, the Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, all in the playoffs. I just think with the Seahawks, although there's some questions around the defense, there's some questions with the offensive line. Chris Carson, I agree. He's a really good running back. However, he gets injured a lot. There's a lot of question marks with this team, but the one spot they don't have a question mark, that's quarterback. They've got a top 5, maybe even bordering top 3 quarterback in the entire league. He's an absolute playmaker. Russell Wilson will be the reason that these guys go 10-7, will be the reason why they make the playoffs.
And I do want to mention something really quick with the 49ers. I forgot to say, I have them at 10-7, but I also have them 1-5 in the division. So I think they're going 9-2 outside the division this year. That's how this division is. I think the Rams end up dominating it, but the other teams they're all pretty damn close. But the Niners just happen. They're all going to be like legitimate, 3-point games or 7-point games. They're all going to be so close, but I feel like it's going to fall that way.
Yeah, and the fact that you have them at, what'd you say, 10-7 or 11-6?
10-7 is a playoff team going 1-5 in the division.
Yeah, the fact that you show that just shows how potent this division is. I've got every single team going 3-3 in the division, because how awesome would that be? Teams just trading blows back and forth. That's what I want to see. But let's now move on to finally a consensus in this division. The 4th place team. Derek, you've got the Cardinals there. We all have the Cardinals there. What do they sit at record wise, and why are they there?
I got them at 7-10. I'm going down the schedule, and I've got them pretty much, like you said, trading blows with their divisional counterparts for the most part. But then they got games at Cleveland. They're at Tennessee. They got a couple. They got Green Bay. They got Indy. They get at Dallas. They got some tough games on that schedule that I think they might. They probably will drop, or they could win a couple of those. But obviously, the offense is fine. Kyler and Hopkins are just money, especially for fantasy purposes. No worries there. So yeah, I got them in some good additions. They got J.J. Watt, which was a nice addition, and then even drafting Zaven Collins. I think that's going to help out the defense. He'll probably step in immediately and start, so that'll help out the D. This is strictly just on the outside of the division schedule. I got them at 7-10.
I've got them at 9-8, so I have all 4 teams in the division going positive, which is just crazy to think in the NFL. But if any division were to do it, it's this division. I love Kyler as a quarterback. I think he's fantastic. The defense, especially now that Chandler Jones sounds like he's willing to play there. He sounds unhappy, but it sounds like he's going to be willing to play there from what I read earlier today. And of course, they got J.J. Watt in. They're doing everything right. They're trying to put together the right pieces. But at the end of the day, Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think he's good enough to coach them to an extra win or 2. I think they're going to win 9 games, all because of the players, not because of the coaching staff. I think Cliff Kingsbury deserves to be on the hot seat. I don't think he's just a good coach in general. So 9-8, all because of the players on the team, not because of the coaching.
I also had them at 9-8, and they just miss out on the playoffs. They were the 8th seed, and of course, there's only 7 seeds that make it. I agree with Chase. I think the players are really good. I am not a big Cliff Kingsbury guy. I think one person that is going to have a really nice year for him, Isaiah Simmons, a guy who was an all-around really good defensive player for him, or well, not for them necessarily, but last year, his rookie year, he didn't really get all of the opportunity to succeed. I really hope Cliff Kingsbury gives him that this year, because when you have a good player, it doesn't matter where you play him, at safety, at linebacker, just get him on the damn field. It's simple. So I think that if they do that, Isaiah Simmons going to have a step up. Zaven Collins should do well. Defensive line still looks pretty solid. So they've got a pretty good overall team, just not in the playoffs. So we'll move on. Go ahead.
Real quick. And like when Isaiah Simmons did finally get in the field the last half of the year, he started getting like actually more snaps, and he was pretty productive. So he's bound to explode in a very big way. A lot of the sophomore slump is a very real thing for whatever reason. But I just don't think it's going to be the case for Isaiah Simmons. I think he's going to explode onto the scene.
I feel like this year we're going to get, at least based off of a lot of talk out of camp and a lot of predictions early on, it seems like this year there's going to be a lot more sophomore shine than there is sophomore slump. I mean, I'm hearing it that Burrow's going to be better. Higgins is going to be better. Everyone else on the Bengals is going to be better. But I mean, Isaiah Simmons, there's so many players that are coming into their second year that could take that step up. And I haven't really heard much talk about players taking a step back, which really excites me for the future of the league. But we'll move on to rookie of the year, or rookie of the division, I should say. This one, I was going through it, and it's hard not to pick a super obvious choice. Derek, do you want to go after the low-hanging fruit, or should we let Chase do that?
No, let Chase do it, because I don't have the low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a deep cut.
I've literally got 2 players as possible rookies a year, and that's it. Just because, I mean, there was a lack of draft capital in this division, to be honest. So Trey Lance, if he plays games, like, he's got to be the favorite. I mean, if he plays 5 games, he's automatically the favorite for rookie of the year in this division. That's just how it's going to work out. And I lean that he's going to get in some games this year. I don't know if he's going to play the full season. I think whoever wins the job out of camp, I think it's going to be a true competition, plays the majority of games. There's bound to be moments where whoever the backup is might go in because the starter's struggling, and maybe the next week they, kind of flip for that week and see what happens. But I think Trey Lance is bound to get at least some playing time, and whoever takes that starting job out of camp will hold it for most of the season.
Yeah, this was a rough one. Outside of Trey Lance, this was rough. I mean, I had it between. Well, I just went with, there was two other guys besides Trey Lance that I was looking at. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Raheem Mostert gets hurt, and I'm taking Trey Sermon as the rookie of the year. Mostert always has his injury issues. If Sermon gets a chance in that offense, I think he can excel, score some touchdowns. He does catch the ball a little bit. So I'm going to go with that guy.
Now, let me know if I'm wrong, but I would assume Zaven Collins is the other guy for you.
That's correct.
Those were the 3 players I was looking at, but unfortunately, I got to join Chase in the low-hanging fruit. Like, I don't think Zaven Collins has a big enough impact right off the bat. Trey Sermon definitely could, but it's so hard to beat a quarterback when it comes to rookie voting. And the fact that in this division, there's no spectacular players outside of the quarterback, it's so hard to beat it. I mean, maybe you see Tutu Atwell, Chase's favorite player, but I gotta go Trey Lance. I gotta agree there. But moving on, MVP. Go ahead.
What a waste of a draft pick. I mean, like last year, you spent a high pick on Van Jefferson too, just to take Tutu Atwell, who is built like a middle schooler. I don't understand. What a horrible waste of the little draft capital that you had. If you're trying to get weapons for Matthew Stafford, that is not a weapon for Matthew Stafford.
They must not be a big believer of your boy Robert Woods.
Oh, that's whose job Tutu Atwell's taking, Robert Woods. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll put money on that.
All right. I'm not going to do that. If Derek wants in, he can have it. But moving on, MVP of this division. Who are we thinking? Chase.
So I mean, I'll take my guy. Give me my Stafford bias, Matt Stafford, baby. I think he's got. I think he has a legitimate chance to win MVP if he comes in and the Rams do as well. If they go 14-3 like I project them to, like it's gonna be because Matthew Stafford played fantastic. So I got to kind of ride off of that prediction. I've gotten some more money on him too. Just he had some good odds. Him and Josh Allen both had awesome odds. They were like plus 1,600. Just threw $50 on each of them. I think one of those two guys that got a very good chance. But it's Matthew Stafford, and I could really choose any of the quarterbacks in this division at the end of the day, I think, and you'd probably be right or have a good chance. But I think Stafford just got the slight edge right now.
And Derek, as you can tell, that's why Chase was bugging me about getting him those $10 because, like you, he is a degenerate gambler. He's putting money on everything.
I'm talking about. Well, for my MVP of the division, I've got DeKalin Zacharias Metcalf, which is DK Metcalf to the layman. I love this kid. I've liked him ever since he came out of Ole Miss, and he had 83 catches, 1,500 plus or 1,300 yards last year. I'm looking at, if they let Russell cook like I'm hoping, I'm looking at about 90 catches, maybe 1,500 yards, 10 to 12 touchdowns. He's a physical beast. He's got some speed. He's got great hands. He's a crisp route runner. And it's just his third year. And they, you know what they say, those receivers in their third year usually bust out. I think he already busted out, but I think this year's going to be even better.
I like DK Metcalf a lot, but I am going with the guy who's passing the ball to him, Russell Wilson. We always talk about let Russ cook. Last year, we saw it a little bit at the start of the year. Then he got a little bit worn down towards the end, but I was saying he's a top 5 quarterback, bordering top 3. So give me that guy to win the MVP in this division. Could be a guy that wins the MVP in the whole league.
But Mike, he's never gotten an MVP vote before.
I don't care. he's got my MVP vote. How about that?
Fair enough. I do think it is crazy that he's never gotten one though either. He's had some fantastic years, and he's clearly a talented QB. And people try to use that as an argument against him, and that's just such a stupid argument.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for this show. We're so happy to have you on, Derek. It was a great time and got to talk some more football. And that actually finishes out our division previews. Started with the Super Bowl champs, ended with the best division in football. It was a good time. But up next, we're going to be looking at our college football season. Also going to be doing some hot take and debates. So that's what you get to look forward to on next week's show. But that's going to do it for this one. Derek, thanks for coming out. Anything you wanted to say to the lovely people?
No, just thanks for having me. And, maybe we can do it again sometime. And Chase, I'm getting my money back. Take care, guys.
Yeah, you too. That is the end of the show. We want to thank you so much for coming out and giving it a listen. If you are on YouTube, if you could give us a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to turn on notifications. If you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could rate us 5 stars and follow us, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. That's again on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. We've got other social media, Instagram, Facebook. Those will be in the description below on both podcast platform and YouTube. So make sure to check those out. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, we're not professionals.